Hello and welcome. This is Rochelle of the Healing Rose, and in honor of St. Mary Magdalene's feast day happening today and tomorrow, depending where you are in the world, I thought I would review another Mary Magdalene based oracle. So this one is the Magdalene Oracle by Toni Carmine Salerno. So the guidebook and the paintings are all done by Toni. It is a Blue Angel deck. It came out, probably 2000, I think it actually says on here. Yeah, 2009. So it's been out for a while. I've had this for well over a decade. So it comes in a nice sturdy box. And it does have a really great little guidebook with it. So this deck is not so much based on the teachings of Mary Magdalene, but rather taking it into looking at more what is imagined as the goddess energy that surrounds the mythos of Mary Magdalene. So it has 4 different spreads in the book, a little reflection on Mary Magdalene, just from the author saying, to me, Magdalene is not solely a biblical figure. Rather, she's a modern-day goddess who holds a most sacred and ancient wisdom, organic and tactile and deeply connected to our beautiful planet. Magdalene lives eternally through present-day women, and she will no doubt continue to be a source of inspiration for women in generations to come. So with that sort of mindset is how this deck has been put together. Right? It is alphabetical and they are not numbered. So each one just has a brief little page that describes each card. So we'll take a moment to look at the cards. So these are the backs, which are absolutely beautiful. And this originally did have borders on it. So the border that you see on the front was the border that existed on the card, right? So it did have these really, beautiful decorative borders. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely stunning cards, beautiful to work with. I find that when the cards are a little bigger, for me, I don't work with them as much. So because of the way the borders were done, and because I would not have to sacrifice any of the beautiful imagery in this deck, I chose to take it and trim the borders, right? So I did not lose any of the font. I didn't lose any of the beautiful imagery. I just took off the borders, which actually just made it easier for my hands to handle. If we look at, this is from another Blue Angel deck. This is the Mystique of Magdalene Oracle that's come out recently. I think it was earlier this year, maybe late last year. And as you can see, it's a considerable size difference once it's trimmed down. It is quite a process if you've never trimmed a deck before, though, so I don't necessarily recommend it for everyone. And this one, the Mystique of Magdalene, I will not be trimming just because even though on the backs, I could definitely take off that red border. On the fronts, I have only a border on the top and bottom, and I don't want to actually lose any of the artwork because I love the artwork. So that's sort of a big factor in whether or not I choose to trim a deck. All right, so let's just get to the cards. So we have the Messenger, which is, the artwork's just absolutely lovely. You know, it's got a gloss to it, but I find that doesn't necessarily bother me. I don't really use it for camera readings. Most of the cards that are really glossy don't show up. I don't use this a lot for readings for other people either. I use it a lot in personal readings for myself. This may be my favorite card in the deck, the Sophia card. It's just absolutely gorgeous. All the paintings are beautiful. I really love Toni's work. I love the brushwork. I love the use of light in the paintings. I find that overall, Toni's style holds true through all the cards. I know there's certain decks I actually have, and other decks that I've looked at that, you know, it starts out the artwork, because I mean, these paintings, you don't just like do a painting a day in the normal world, right? They can take a long time to produce each painting, to get all the details in, the nuances, the color tones that you want. And so it can be a long period of time to create, you know, 45, or, you know, if you're doing a tarot, even 78 cards. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into that, and an artist's style can change over time. The mood that they start a deck with might shift by the end of the deck. So sometimes it loses a certain amount of cohesiveness. It starts with one style and color palette and then slowly shifts into another, right? But I find that Toni's artwork has a very distinct style, and it just lends to the deck being an absolutely beautiful, cohesive deck. It does combine a lot of different concepts within the deck. We are looking at, you know, looking at things from more of a sacred aspect. Looking at those qualities like ascension and the universal Christ, and, you know, that like sacred sexuality, and having a certain perception towards things, you know. So it's a lovely deck to work with. This is a deck that I absolutely love. I really appreciate the artwork, and these backs are just divine. So it's a deck that shuffles really well. And I mean, for me, now that I've popped it down, it, you know, if I want to, I can actually riffle shuffle this deck. The cardstock holds up really well. You can give it a good bend and it pops right back. We don't have any distortion happening. Blue Angel, really, I mean, their decks have really solid quality overall. All right, so let's have a little shuffle and see if there's a card that pops out. So one of the readings I like to do, let's just do a single reading for now. Okay, intimacy. So it's nice that it's all alphabetical. If you know your basic alphabet, you can pop through this pretty quick, right? So intimacy says, you may have been emotionally hurt in the past, and as a result, you are now reluctant to share your feelings with others because you fear being hurt again. It is understandable that you have placed a protective shield around your heart. However, it's now time to drop the armor, because at present it is preventing a worthwhile relationship from forming. There is someone who dearly loves you, and the love this person has for you is real. However, he or she is afraid to reveal their true feelings for fear of rejection. Like you, they also fear being hurt. Trust and share your feelings and experiences openly and honestly, and you'll be amazed at what unfolds. The most intimate relationships are usually formed through tears and laughter, so don't be afraid to express your feelings, fears, and vulnerability. The past is now behind you. Release it and embrace the new. So they have very succinct meanings. And because the concepts are quite clear in this deck, it's quite easy to just use the keywords if you want to do sample reading. So one of the readings that I really enjoy using is a simple 3-card spread with the oracles. your strength, your heart, and your challenge. So let's go. What's our strength? All right. And where's our heart? And what's our challenge? Okay. So, you know, that's, I mean, it's interesting that intimacy has come out twice, right? What does that mean? What does that mean for who's watching, right? So War and Peace is a clash between the logical mind and the heartfelt yearning. Your heart's pulling you in one direction and your mind is pulling you in another, right? So how is that your strength, right? Having that duality, having both the analytical and the emotional, right? So where is your heart? So your heart is Sinner, Saint. The assumption, that's great English, man. The assumptions you are making about another person or event could turn out to be completely wrong. Realize that for every theory, there is a contradicting and opposing one. There may be more to the situation than meets your eye. So you're being advised to keep an open mind and open heart. So we're looking at, you know, your strength here is your ability to not just get caught up in your feelings, but also to be able to analytically look at the situation and see more what's happening, as opposed to just having a kind of knee-jerk emotional outburst, right? And then realizing, like, in your heart, you know that every situation has two sides to it. If you're in a discussion with someone, like, their perception of what's happening in the conversation will be completely different than what your perception of what's happening in the conversation, right? And when you understand that, and when you're holding that in your heart, it actually makes it much easier to communicate, right? But the challenge here is allowing yourself to be open up to that intimacy. So, you know, embracing your strength, but starting to tune in maybe a little bit more to what your heart has to tell you, right? So it's a very simple little 3-card spread, and you can take 3 cards and you can put any concept on them. But I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful deck. It's fun to use. It's not necessarily going to expand your knowledge about Mary Magdalene, but it has a really good vibe. And I mean, the artwork is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful deck to work with. It's very easy to use. It's very simple. It's not super complicated, and you don't always have to go back to the guidebook once you've used it just a little bit. Okay, so if you're still here, I would absolutely love if you would hit that little thumbs up. If you feel called to, subscribe and come back and join me for more deck reviews and readings in the future. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.